right, I'm back at my desk, and one of my friends, new friends, recently friends, sent me a very interesting letter that basically, was sent to the SEC regarding, making public offerings. And the gentleman, I'm going to plug his book. It's Kevin Lawton, and Kevin Lawton has written a book called Crowdfunding: The Micro VC Revolution. So I wonder if he took the micro VC micro. See, it's funny he has micro VC because I talk about micro funding is my term, and he used micro VC, which is interesting. I like the micro VC revolution. So what Kevin sent me was actually very interesting. He sent me, and you can read it yourself if you know Bitly. Bitly is a shortener, and if you go to FoundUp Corp, which is our abbreviation for FoundUp Corp is FUC, right? FoundUp Corp, FUC, SEC. So all capital, Bitly, FUC, SEC. I wasn't trying to be derogatory. Like, don't read it as fuck SEC. Please, that's not my intention. Let me just be very clear that I was just putting FoundUp Corp, SEC. I promise. Well, anyway, in this Bulldog Investor letter to the SEC, which was done in actually September 2007, what it does is it talks about basically the prohibition for advertising against business regulation, because really the SEC's regulations is about advertising, right? And there's been significant cases where the courts have overturned in other business instances advertising. So it's very interesting because in many respects, if I'm giving a legitimate offer as advertising for offering securities to investors, then there's a product of free speech there that I have every right to, as guaranteed under the amendments that we have as Americans. And the other thing too is, think about it. Maybe my offering isn't to American investors, and I should say that to other investors that aren't governed by the SEC. And obviously, how I'm approaching this is that if I get 100,000 in pledges, I'm not going to do anything until I say I have 100,000 in pledges. Then what we'll do is actually set up a subsidiary in Hong Kong, and we'll use that subsidiary to handle those pledges, and we'll make the investments through the Hong Kong branch, not through the American branch. Not that that's going to do much probably, but that way there is, it's like, since it's a violation here, we're not going to use our corporate charter here in the United States, and ultimately we would use a different charter that lies outside the SEC, kind of like what they call offshore. So it's very interesting because something else that they point out in this article, which I thought was very, was the fact that there was a lot of restrictions in the 1990s and 2000s that the Food and Drug Administration had basically lost. They had a lot of restrictions, and consider that really the Food and Drug Administration desires were dealing with protecting someone from being killed, right, from being harmed. No one's going to be killed or harmed in doing an investment. Someone's going to be more harmed in going to Las Vegas for a weekend and going crazy at the craps table. So so really, if you read the document, I think you'll find it of interest. But obviously, and what I thought was funny too is there's a mention of a Trout. There was a case where Trout's in there, which I thought was funny. It was the Catskill Mountain chapter of Trout Unlimited versus the city of New York. So the Trouts have been fighting this for quite some time. So as a Trout myself, I thought it was kind of interesting that I would be, maybe in the future they'll be talking about the FoundUps, FoundUps Corp versus the SEC or something. Who knows? Hopefully it will never go to that. But ultimately, if I can read a little bit here, in the 1990s and the early 2000s, the Food and Drug Administration lost a series of legal challenges to various regulation restrictions. One, the promotion of off-label, non-FDA approved use of pharmaceutical and medical devices. They lost that. Two, compounding of prescription drugs by pharmacies. And three, health benefits of food supplements. Basically, they had regulations on all these three things, and they lost them. All these regulations were analyzed by federal courts using the standards set forth by the Central Hudson Gas and Electric Corp versus Public Service Company of New York, or Commonwealth of New York, 447 U.S. .557, 1980. So this was in 1980, right? When this battle started. Under Central Hudson is known for the regulation of untruthful, non-misleading commercial speech. To withstand judicial scrutiny, the government must prove that the regulations, one, relates to substantial government interest, two, directly and materially advances the asserted interest, and three, is narrowly tailored, no more extensive than necessary. I have no clue what any of that means. Maybe you do. This is why we need attorneys, I guess, to pay them $300 an hour to understand what these sentences mean, because they it's kind of like, let's put the language in ways that the common American can't use it, because then we have to pay those bills for those people who demand them. Anyway, so the bottom line is this: is that there's going to be a battle with the SEC about deregularizing basically offerings. I think that kind of the model that I'm doing between 5,000 and 100,000. I'm even talking about you can only crowdfund a percentage of your gross income. You could start off as little as 1% of your gross income, all the way up to maybe 10% of your gross income. We don't have such limitations for gambling or anything else. So maybe we start with providing some limitations just to humor the SEC and change it. But so please go read this. Again, it is bit.ly, bit.ly /FUCSEC, FUCSEC, all caps. So again, I want to just say, like I said, FUC does not stand for fuck. It stands for Found Up Corporation, or Found Up Corp. So I made a short little bit.ly there. Okay, thank you.